You're here for a reason, and it's not by chance. That feeling stirring within you, it's a recognition of the quiet strength you've shown, even when you felt overlooked. You are not ordinary, nor are you forgotten. You've navigated unseen challenges, carried burdens silently, and resisted glittering distractions that weren't true gold. Now the significance of your journey is about to unfold. You are a rare individual, someone who can be trusted, and your resilience is a powerful force against negativity. You didn't give up when it would have been easy, and that unwavering spirit is a signal, a profound affirmation that your quiet sacrifices have created a powerful shift in your favor. This message is for you, the one who remained loyal through pain, stayed grounded when running seemed simpler, and maintained integrity when compromise felt cheaper. Take a moment to truly absorb this. You're on the verge of understanding why certain paths were hidden, why delays occurred, and what challenges you were protected from. This isn't just about listening, it's about awakening to your true potential and standing tall in your inherent worth. You've moved through more unseen battles than you realize, yet you're still here. This isn't luck. It's because you've been protected in ways you couldn't perceive. There were meticulously crafted schemes, designed to appeal to your desires, wounds, and even your beliefs, opportunities that seemed harmless or perfectly timed, but were subtly meant to derail you. Without fanfare, you were rerouted. Not with loud warnings, but with gentle nudges. A sudden disinterest, a door that wouldn't open, or an unexplainable feeling of unrest. You weren't aware of the secret doubts whispered about you, the traps laid to ensnare you, or the strategies formed to exploit your weariness or hope. But your intuition, or perhaps a higher power, saw every detail. You stood at the precipice of commitments that would have drained your spirit, disguised as blessings, but seeded with compromise, tangled connections, or hidden agendas. Some came as support, some wore the face of love, and some even spoke the language of conviction. Yet beneath the surface, they would have fractured your focus, diluted your purpose, and constrained your potential. But you didn't step into them. You resisted the urge to act out of fear or desperation. You allowed silence to guide you when needed, choosing depth over outward display, discernment over impulse, and alignment over instant gratification. Every pause, every quiet no, every decision to walk away when things didn't make sense. That was your protection. Those moments when you doubted if you'd missed your chance were actually when you bypassed a trap. There were paths you never took that would have eroded your confidence, people you didn't reconnect with who would have shattered your trust, and plans you abandoned that would have stolen your time and dimmed your light. You didn't see how close the danger came, but your steadfastness intervened. This wasn't mere luck. It was the direct result of choosing to stay rooted when it would have been easier to waver. Every hidden act of integrity became a shield against the chaos awaiting you. Each time you chose what was right over what was easy, you reshaped your destiny. You didn't just avoid trouble. You sidestepped a spiritual snare designed to silence your progress. That's why you still possess clarity, peace, and stable footing. Even when you couldn't identify the danger, your discipline prevented it from entering, and that discipline became your deliverance. You've been quietly building, unacknowledged, and standing firm even when nothing seemed to progress, saying yes when every fiber of your being wanted to retreat. This may not feel heroic, but in the grand scheme, it is profoundly sacred. Discipline rarely feels exciting. It doesn't arrive with applause. Most days it feels thankless, unnoticed, and solitary. You might see others racing ahead, taking shortcuts, and achieving quick wins, while you are called to proceed slowly, carefully, and intentionally. You've declined invitations others would readily accept. You've risen early in silence, continued praying in empty rooms, and kept showing up even with tired hands and a weary heart. Discipline remains quiet when your soul craves noise. It is steadfast when your desire demands immediate proof. It keeps moving forward when your mind begs for shortcuts. The world often rewards the loud and the immediate, but true strength and progress are built through consistent, unseen effort. Every quiet no, every choice for alignment over impulse, every small act of dedication was noted and valued. You didn't grasp at what sparkled, manipulate outcomes for external validation, force timelines to feel relevant, or compromise your standards to feel included. Instead, you remained grounded. You allowed yourself to be refined, trusting the process even when it challenged your ego. This is why you're still here, why unseen battles never reached you, why silent attacks lost their power, and why your discipline became your strongest defense. What felt like restraint was actually preserving you. What seemed like limitation was redirection in disguise. What looked like stagnation was the foundational work being built to support something significant you can't yet perceive. Many falter not in storms, but in stillness, not in crisis, but in waiting. It's easy to drift when the effort is quiet and the reward feels distant. But you didn't. You chose to stay. You let your roots grow deeper instead of wandering off. Discipline isn't just about control, it's about authority. Each time you chose patience over panic, you declared to the unseen that your trust wasn't in the clock, but in the one who holds it. That trust spoke volumes where words couldn't. It gave permission for protection to shut down ambushes and scatter every plan meant to derail you. While others doubted your choices, they were enough to shift your destiny. Discipline may look ordinary to others, but it is the soil of holiness. And holiness builds the kind of foundation that lasts when others crumble. You didn't just practice restraint. You became a force against anything that thrives on chaos. And because of that, what was forged in secret will soon be honored in the open, not because you demanded it, but because its time has come. You have faced moments when your strength felt thin, when the weight of waiting pressed heavily against your spirit. You've watched others sprint ahead, celebrated and praised, while you stood in what felt like a quiet wilderness, wondering if your perseverance even mattered anymore. You felt the temptation to lower your guard, to release deeply held convictions, to step away from what you knew was right for something that at least felt immediate. You thought, why bother holding this line? Maybe the cost of obedience is too steep. Maybe it doesn't even matter anymore. But somewhere deeper, beneath the doubt and fatigue, something unshakable stirred. You couldn't fully explain it, but the message was clear. Don't move. Don't react out of frustration. Don't trade the eternal for something temporary. Stand still and let it pass. What you didn't realize in that exact moment was how close danger had crept. You didn't see the snares hidden under what seemed harmless. You didn't hear the whispers weaving through the silence, hoping you'd crack. You didn't see how intricately darkness had prepared to exploit your weariness. But everything was seen. Your quiet refusal to break at that crossroads became a shield. Your stillness turned into a fortress. Your restraint shut the door before destruction could slip through. While you thought you were just enduring another hard day, the unseen was shifting. Forces assigned to delay you lost their footing. Words sent to wound you dissolved before they reached you. What was meant to trap you never even touched you because you stayed anchored. You didn't win that battle with noise or bravado. You won it by not moving, by not reacting, by letting your spirit remain aligned when everything in your being screamed to abandon it. That silence. That was strategy. The enemy was counting on your exhaustion, making you reckless. They assumed your silence meant surrender, mistook your stillness for defeat. But your quiet resistance, invited something holy to intervene. You stood in grace, even when you felt fragile. You chose trust over impulse. And that choice became the turning point. That moment, when you thought about quitting, was actually the moment you passed one of the fiercest tests of your journey. You endured. You held the line when it mattered most. What looked ordinary to you was actually protection fighting on your behalf, because you refused to step out of position. So don't diminish what you did that day. What felt like just surviving was actually one of the greatest victories of your life. Not because of what you said or did, but because you remained faithful when it would have been easier to let go. You are someone who chose integrity when no one was watching. You walked away from what glittered but didn't align. You kept your hands clean and your heart steady, even when compromise was closer and easier. No crowd cheered when you turned down what would have boosted your image, but fractured your soul. No spotlight found you when you chose silence over gossip, or calm over retaliation. No one posted about the night you wept quietly, but still kept your posture upright. But the unseen noticed. Every quiet choice you made, every hidden sacrifice, every decision that cost you applause but protected your spirit, was seen and recorded. While others judged you by what they could see, your inner state was fully known. Every unspoken prayer, every private battle, every quiet victory was witnessed in full. You did not choose restraint to impress anyone. You weren't trying to curate an image or earn validation. You simply knew there was more at stake. And you refused to sell yourself short. You stood where others stumbled. You waited when others ran ahead. You gave when you could have withheld. You held your tongue when speaking would have satisfied your ego. Those small, unseen acts have built a testimony no one else can replicate. Your discipline was never about performing. It was about staying aligned. Every step you took in silence became a seed sown in sacred ground. And now, because of what you did not reach for, what you did not bow to, what you did not say yes to, the doors you've been praying for are beginning to unlock. Not because you are perfect, but because you are trustworthy. Not because you earned it, but because you can now be entrusted to carry it without contamination. What's about to come to you isn't a reward for showy faith or hollow rituals. It is the natural harvest of faithfulness in obscurity. Trust like yours is not forged overnight. It's cultivated quietly in the spaces where no one claps and no one notices. When it's easier to give up and harder to keep going. You aren't being asked to be flawless. You're being recognized for surrendering to a higher purpose. Your heart declared, even unseen, I choose you above all else. That posture, your quiet resolve, has distinguished you. You weren't just behaving well. You were being shaped by something greater. That discipline became your gateway to favor. So don't be surprised when alignment begins to find you. When doors open without you forcing them. When opportunities appear without you pushing. It isn't because you changed. It's because what you built in secret is now bearing fruit in the open. The blessing that's coming isn't man-made. It's a profound response to what you carried privately. And now, chosen one, it's your time to walk in it. You've proven something that negativity hoped you'd never discover, that its influence collapses the moment you decide not to flinch. It threw frustrations like stones, hoping to crack your resolve. It whispered doubt into quiet spaces, hoping to lure you off course. It draped the path with detours that sparkled just enough to look harmless. And yet, you stayed the course. It expected your wariness to turn into rebellion, counted on delay making you careless, and believed betrayal would sour your faith. But you didn't move, you didn't bend. You didn't let the chaos write your next step. What you exposed in that silence is what truly terrifies negativity, that its reach stops at the edge of your surrender to something greater. You didn't win with noise. You didn't need to argue, to shout, to claw your way out. You didn't even need to fight the way the world fights. You simply stood your ground. You chose not to take the bait. That stillness dismantled every scheme before it could reach you. You were completely misread. Quiet was mistaken for weakness, restraint for defeat. While outrage was expected, you rooted yourself deeper. While lashing out was anticipated, you leaned into strength. While a fracture was hoped for, you became whole. Now it's clearing. You are not just called, you are conditioned. You are not just gifted, you are governed. You are not swayed by flattery or fear. You are not undone by delay or distraction. You are anchored in truth that cannot be twisted. You survived this season not by chance but by choice. Each quiet decision to trust overreact was a line drawn, declaring that you cannot be manipulated. You will not bow for convenience. And you hold true principles above your own will. That unnerves negativity more than any shout ever could. Because flashy gifts can be faked, but discipline forged in silence cannot be duplicated. The very fires meant to consume you only refined you. The traps meant to snare you became lessons you now discern before they even form. Every shadow was thrown, and still you stood. Doubts were tugged at, and you kept your footing. Attempts were made to harden your heart, and you kept it soft enough to hear. Now, you're not just a target, you're a threat. Not because you're louder, but because you're unwavering. Not because you know how to perform, but because you know how to stand. What you've built in discipline, no darkness can dismantle. True opposition doesn't fear the loudest believer. It fears the steady one. The one who doesn't chase approval, but listens for quiet instructions. The one who lives what they claim even in obscurity. You are that one. You've shown the limits of negative influence and the power of holy resolve. What you built in quiet obedience cannot be undone, and what you've exposed cannot be hidden again. You are someone who has endured the quiet season with more grace than you realized. You've stayed the course through silence and mystery, through doors that remained shut, through paths that seemed to lead nowhere. Soon, you'll understand why it all had to happen that way. What you couldn't see yet is about to be brought to light, and it will take your breath away in wonder, not in worry. You will be shown why the timing was slowed, why connections faded before they bloomed, why what you thought you were ready for stayed out of reach. You have been shielded from collisions you never knew you were walking toward. The whispers you ignored, the uneasy feelings you honored, the opportunities you declined. All of them were quiet barricades built around your destiny. You thought you were overlooked. You thought maybe you'd missed something or failed some unseen test. But really, a divine force was at work clearing unseen wreckage from your path. When the curtain lifts, you'll recognize how close you came to danger. Dressed as blessing, you'll see people entangled in situations you nearly accepted. You'll hear stories of shattered peace where you almost planted yourself and whisper, "That could have been me." You'll recognize how a single yes in the wrong direction would have drained the very essence of who you are. And you'll stand in awe not of the threats, but of how faithfully you were kept from them. What felt like confinement was actually a fortress. What felt like denial was disguised deliverance. There were agreements waiting to entrap you, relationships poised to break your spirit, deals designed to fracture your focus, and they were quietly dissolved before they reached you. What looked like loss was simply a hand closing what would have poisoned your purpose. If you'd pushed ahead, if you'd ignored that quiet restraint in your soul, you would have called it favor and stepped into a snare. But because you listened, because you paused, because you stayed close to what was true, there was room to act on your behalf. People drifted not because they disliked you, but because something higher removed them before they could dismantle you. They came with smiles, but carried intentions that would have left you empty. The ties were cut before they could wrap around your calling. The false intentions dissolved before they could infect your spirit. Very soon you will see it clearly, the narrow escapes, the almosts, the calamities you walked right past without even knowing they were there. You'll realize the walls were mercy. The delays were protection. The loneliness was sanctuary. What you thought was simply discipline was actually preservation. And what you thought you lost was what was saving your life all along. You have been proving in silence what others could never see. And now the season of unlocking has arrived. Every quiet yes you gave, every hidden choice that cost you comfort but kept you aligned, has been building toward this moment. This is not just favor arriving by chance, this is divine alignment in motion. You're stepping into the season where unseen sacrifices turn into visible breakthroughs. The fog is lifting, and what once confused you will now confirm you were never alone in the process. If this message resonated with your soul, support the channel by becoming a member. Just click the join button below. Or, if you'd like to help me continue creating these messages, you can buy me a coffee. The link is in the description and pinned comment. Your support truly means the world.